Edwards versus Covington does not make sense, and I'm going to be telling you why a little bit later on. Hello everybody and welcome to Against the Fence, where this is the place to be if you're obsessed and passionate about mixed martial arts and the UFC. Hello everybody, we're going to be recapping the events of UFC 286 this past weekend. This is your aftermath show, and we're going to be talking about why Edwards versus Covington doesn't make sense, and yet apparently it's going to be the next move according to Dana White. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. We're also going to be talking about Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje and why that fight should be next in the lightweight division. We're also going to be talking about a little bit about commentary bias towards fighters as well. There's a few things that's spruced up on social media following 286, so we'll be doing that a little bit later as well. And then one other thing we're going to be talking about is something that's kind of come up in the last few hours or so that's got people talking about, and it's Colby Covington threatening John Anik. So we'll get into the reasons why a little bit later on. Of course, we'll get into the updated rankings as well. But first of all, before we get on to recapping the events from the main card, we'll do some honourable mentions, of course, from the prelims. Some standouts, absolute standouts. Jack Shaw submission against Americani in the second round was an absolute joy to watch, man. It's quite emotional, of course, at the time because his father had been battling cancer and things like that, so props to him. Chris Duncan got a split decision win against Usman Morales. We're kind of rooting for him because he's been on the channel before. Muhammad Mokaev battling back from, nearly getting his knee torn to pieces. He gets yet another third round submission under his belt. That was a neck crank against Jafal Filo. Of course, we had Veronica Hardy, Dan Hardy's wife, coming back after 3 years, getting a decision winning against Juliana Minas. Shout out to her, of course. So many jam-packed fights from start to finish at the weekend. And of course, as you're aware of this channel, we don't usually do watch-alongs for the whole card because of just time reasons, energy levels. Providing you guys with entertainment for 6 hours is, almost near enough impossible. So, we got to watch the whole thing at the weekend, and look, my God, bounced better and better as the fights were going on and stuff. And it was good to see some wonderful people in the chats as well during the watch along. Yes, Angus, who says evening chaps, how are we? Indeed. Yes, Breezy says morning. Not nearly. He did. Yeah, well, I mean, he did share his knee to pieces. I know exactly what Breezy's talking about. Yeah, it was pretty grim. I'm really interested. I'm very, very, very interested to see how long he's going to be out for. If you guys are listening in, whack a link into the Discord because I've not really done that just yet. But good to see you, Breezy, of course. I'm still a little bit jealous that you got your tickets at the weekend. And how was the how was the come down, from UFC 286? I'm interested to know, how's things being back to normal and all that. But I guess we should probably get back into recapping the events from the main card, shall we? Let's head on over, Bosch, to the first fight, of course, of the night. Oh, shit, wrong one. Bosch, that's the one I want. The first fight on the main card, which blown us all away, really, because it wasn't the decision we was expecting. We had Marvin Vettori defeating Roman Dolidze via decision, 29-28 for two of the judges, 30-27 for one judge. A bit of a suspect judge in there. I don't think it was his first rodeo at the weekend. But honestly, we all thought, sitting back, that Roman Dolidze won the fight. And it was clear as day. I thought that he won round one. Round two was quite close. Oh, no, sorry, round three was close. But I think I had him winning rounds 1 and 2. Breezy, what did you... obviously, Breezy was there live. If you were watching it live, guys, and you were there, let me know what you felt, who you felt won the fight. Because I think we all thought that Dolidze had done it and got the nod on that. So... yeah, let us know in the chats what you thought. Sad as soon as I hit Scotland, says Jono. Yes, Lil Brenny. Morning, y'all. Yes, Lil Brenny. Good to see you, my man. How are you doing? Yeah, how's your day been? How's your Tuesday? How's the what's your thoughts on this past weekend? And did you think that Marvin Vettori did enough to get the win against Roman Dolidze? Breezy says, "Oh man, still can't put into words. However, I've struggled getting back into work. Think I've got a rough cold coming, exhausted." Man, I mean, that's what the UFC London weekend is all about. I'm quite surprised I haven't got a cold myself from running around and bouncing all over London, to be honest. He says, "I think it was close. I did say Marvin at the time, though." Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, of course, you guys would have had a good view of it as well, being cage side, because you basically cage side. You're a couple of rows back. What's up, Ash? Good to see you in the chat, as always. Talking on about Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. I thought Vettori was okay in terms of performance-wise. I thought it was very back and forth. I just felt that Dolidze was the more aggressor. I haven't had the chance to rewatch the fight, however. Hopefully we'll do some down the line, because maybe there was a lot of counter shots from Vettori that I've missed. And I want to say perhaps I was biased because I wanted Dolidze to win. I picked Dolidze. However, later on on the card, I picked Fiziev, and I still was, adamant that Gaethje had won the decision on that one anyway. So I don't know whether there's bias on there or not, but yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to give another watch. Lil Brenny said, "I thought Roman won Roman won. Round 2 was close, but thought he edged it." Yeah, me too. Ash thought that Roman won as well. Angus says, "I had Dolidze, as did all the Georgians in our stream." Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of Georgians flew in as well to our stream to support Roman Dolidze, so I guess we were kind of backing the boy for him as well. Did any of you get a chance to rewatch the fight? Let us know in the chat. I'm very excited to hear and to see what people's thoughts are. Yeah, a lot's been going on, but I felt that Roman Dolidze did enough. The leg kicks looked good, but Roman was just throwing with everything he had. I think Marvin's boxing looked way better than previously. Definitely improved, said Breezy. So that's very an interesting take from Breezy there. Vettori's got some wicked hands, man. I'm not gonna lie. He's not just a bit of a brick. Or a fire hydrant, if you want to call him. Bit of a wrestling maniac, really. He's got some good hands to him. Very, unfortunately, he's got good movement as well. Thanks. Props to the chat there. Let's get into kind of what's next for Marvin Vettori then. I should probably recap the movements here. So Marvin Vettori's actually gone into third. What? That's quite crazy, really. He defended his ranking. This is what I don't get about the UFC website, really, or the guys that run it. They move people up even though they've defended their ranking. Like, how does that even make sense? I mean, I guess you could move people up if their win streaks increased, but Marvin Vettori's now on a one-fight win streak. That's not really much at all. Jared Cannonier's gone down, so that's very interesting, really. Because, in fact, Jared Cannonier is on my list as potential opponents. In fact, I've got 2 people for Marvin Vettori. I think Jared Cannonier would be a good option, who's currently 16-6 at the moment. He's coming off of that win against Sean Strickland last December. It's the only fight for him in the current rankings, after defending his spot to Roman Dolidze. Everyone else, he's kind of fought. He's not getting another crack at Adesanya or Whittaker. Paulo Costa would be interesting, but they fought not too long ago, and it was at light heavyweight. Other than that, it would be Dracus du Plessis, but I think I've got other options for du Plessis, to be honest. I think it's about time that Dracus du Plessis defends his ranking. That's the reason why I've not got him down on my list. But against Cannonier, It's the kicking game of Cannonier, really. This is capable of shutting people down. And maybe he would be very effective against Marvin Vettori. I think it would be a very interesting bout on the feet. Of course, Vettori's got the wrestling advantage in that one. There's no denying that. And you would probably favour Vettori because of that. But is Vettori able to take down Cannonier is the ultimate question going into that. Lil Brenny says, I agree. Breezy, Marvin looked really improved. The fight was close. Okay, so maybe there was a bit of biasy from us in there. I don't know. Yeah, Ash even shouting Cannonier as well. Yeah, we did talk about it in the watch along briefly, but just going to go over it a little bit more detail. Does Rob fight the belt winner, says Breezy? Look, here's the thing, Breezy, and it's a good shout because you've got a lightweight, you got Dustin Poirier, he's now screaming for a title fight because Islam's now the champion. And Islam's yet to defend it against a lightweight, right? And you've also got Colby Covington is now coming back into the mix at welterweight because Kamaru Usman's lost. And look, these things usually happen when you've had champions that have reigned for so long. The guys holding it up at the top don't really want to fight the people below. They're just sitting to wait and to finding out whether the champion's going to be dethroned by someone else. It could be possible. You could be right, Breezy. Absolutely. I wouldn't be against that. However, you've got some top rising people coming up as well. Khamzat could be one of those people, one of those names that you could throw in there. That's kind of my other option for Marvin Vettori. I'm not sure. They may have trained together. I did look on Vettori's Instagram a little earlier because I swear I saw a picture of him with Khamzat at some point, but I couldn't find anything, so I don't know. If anyone else has seen that as well, let me know. And don't forget to pop a like on the video, of course, if you're thrilled by or excited by these potential matchups that I'm throwing your way. But yeah, the UFC want Khamzat to return to the middleweight division, against a big name would be ideal. I'd give the striking edge to Vettori, I think, in this one. I just think it'll be a little bit more polished than Khamzat. Power advantage I'd probably want to give to Khamzat, surprisingly, even though he's been fighting at welterweight. The wrestling department is obviously the most intriguing aspect in that one as well. It's whether or not it would cancel it out and it would actually be a stand-up war, or whether or not Khamzat would be the one engaging, because I'd imagine Khamzat's going to be the one engaging in this one. Vettori, is he going to be the bigger guy? Not maybe height-wise, they're probably about the same, similar height, but as I said earlier, Vettori's a pretty built brick house. But not only that, Khamzat was quite successful in a wrestling bout against Jack Hermansson. I watched the tape on that, and he dominated Jack Hermansson. Now, of course, that's not Marvin Vettori. Vettori defeated Hermansson, and we shouldn't really look into MMA maths too much, but it's the fact that he was able to do that against a natural middleweight, really. That's my point where I'm getting at here. So, yeah, those two options really intrigue me for Khamzat. I don't know what you guys think. Pop a like on the video if you like those options for Marvin Vettori next, because other than that, he's going to be sitting out waiting to see what Dracus du Plessis gets next. I can't imagine he'll fight Sean Strickland, because I think he was just training at the same gym as Strickland the last camp out. So, it could still happen. Strickland's game as hell. And Marvin Vettori is probably game as well for it. Vettori will probably just do most of his camp in Thailand. As for Roman Dolidze, though, moving on to him, we kind of mentioned it during the watch along as well. It's only really one option, and it would be Brendan Allen. You could argue that Brendan Allen should maybe perhaps defend his ranking, because I'm pretty sure that he just beat Muniz, who was ranked higher than him before that. I think that's possible. But for Brendan Allen, if you look at it, other than that, you're like, well, he already fought Chris Curtis, lost to Chris Curtis, and you got Chris Curtis fighting Kelvin Gastelum. But if Kelvin Gastelum beats Chris Curtis, then you would probably do Gastelum versus Brendan Allen. So, Brendan Allen on a 4-fight win streak. Do you give him someone like Roman Dolidze? I think it would be a good, fun matchup, personally. It'd be interesting on the ground, because Brendan Allen's quite good on the ground as well. I'm not sure if I checked this earlier. They definitely have not fought before. No, they haven't. But, I don't know. I like Brendan Allen's ground game, man. He's kind of a bit of a sleeper. We saw that against Muniz, didn't we? You could argue Muniz kind of gassed himself out in that fight. But, Roman Dolidze, probably power advantage against Allen. But Allen's he's a crafty striker. He's very long as well for the division. So it'd be interesting to see how it would play out on the feet, especially after seeing, Roman's display against Vettori. I'd imagine he'll be the aggressor coming forward in the whole time in that fight. Breezy says, I think Rob beats Alex. It's a hard division to do top 5 because they have mostly fought each other, and that's true. That's true, isn't it? It's all because of Breezy. Not because of Breezy. Of Izzy. Easy, Breezy. It's all because of Izzy. Izzy, really. He's been picking people away for time, but can he get back on the horse and beat Alex Pereira again? I don't really think he can, but it's going to be interesting, isn't it, next month? Because if Pereira does beat Izzy, then we're in this limbo at the moment with both Izzy and Usman, where they've fought a lot of the guys around them. They've beaten them as champions, but then what do you do next with them? Especially when you've got Usman, who's fought the likes of Masvidal and Covington twice. Izzy's fought the likes of Whittaker, Vettori twice. So, there's not a lot there for him. Other people would have to catch up to those guys. I don't know, man. Who knows? Ash says, Roman versus Allen, great matchup. Yeah. Would you give it on a pay-per-view or would you get it on a fight night? I don't really know. Can't really tell. And Breezy kind of agrees with that one as well. So yeah, lovely chat. Keep the chats coming in, guys. Moving on then swiftly, I guess, to the second bout of the night, which was Jennifer Maia picking up the win against Casey O'Neill in a very impressive display. I must admit, I was not surprised. This was one of my most confident picks on the night, because I felt that Jennifer Maia was going to be too quick for Casey O'Neill, and we saw exactly that. Her hands seem to get better and better. Her boxing skills are phenomenal. She's very good at being in and out of the pocket, landing her combinations and then evading the counter. And, that was the story of the fight, basically. Yeah, so what was the judges' scores again? So the judges' scores 30-27, 29-28 twice. So yeah, I can't actually remember how I was scored it at the time. There's probably a lot of fun and games happening at the same time. We all had a few drinks, of course. But yeah, for Jennifer Maia, I was very, very, very impressed. Next for her, however, as we go into the rankings, as you can see, there's no real movements, which is correct because she did just defend her ranking. And really, I think we did touch upon it on the watch along, what was ideal matchup for her. And it's really one, to be honest, and that's Lauren Murphy. They've not fought before. A lot of these girls in the top half of women's flyweight have fought before, but Lauren Murphy really sticks out because it's not happened before. It's the most logical option for me. Murphy's coming from a loss to Jessica Andrade. She didn't really look herself in that fight. And you got to think that perhaps it was Andrade's power was too much for her. Maia isn't the heaviest hitters in the division. She really isn't. She's going to cause problems on the feet still with her footwork and volume. She's more of a volume striker. So, and I guess in a way so is Lauren Murphy, but Lauren Murphy's main attributes are on the ground, surprisingly, but we don't really normally see it much. So I think that fight is quite intriguing. Maybe perhaps they'd put it as a co-main on a fight night or something like that. Or it could even be in a prelims of a pay-per-view, because Jennifer Maia has been in a couple of them as of recent. And of course, Lauren Murphy being yet another former title challenger. Let me get into more of the chats. Breezy says, I think the loser moves up. Was you referring to this matchup that I've given? Or was it the last one? Perhaps. Interesting. Ash says, was going to say only matchup is Murphy. Yeah, because I'm looking at it at the moment, and I guess you've got Amanda Ribas is in the mix there, but is she going back down to... Well, she's not got a fight booked, but is she due a fight, maybe? What was it? Her last one was against Vivian Araujo, so maybe she is sticking around at women's flyweight. Rebus against Maia is not a bad one, to be fair. However, I think Rebus just beat Arujo and took her ranking spot, I think. So maybe Rebus could get the winner of... but then, I don't know, that's not the option I've got. Oh, man, it could be any of these options. To be honest, for Casey O'Neill, I'm getting hungry. Casey O'Neill would be the winner of Andrea Lee versus Macy Barber, which is happening this weekend. But on the flip side, you could easily give that fight to Amanda Ribas. And maybe you give Casey O'Neill, Tracy Cortez. I think that's a good fight, to be honest. Cortez against O'Neill. Both girls have lost once. Tracy Cortez, I think she recently pulled out of a fight against Amanda Ribas. Am I right in saying that? Yes, that's right. It was scheduled in December. However, official weigh-in promotion, Cortez pulled out due to unspecified medical reasons, and the bout was cancelled. Okay, so we're yet to find out what's happening with Tracy Cortez. So I'd imagine that Tracy Cortez would probably fight Casey O'Neill, and I think that's a good matchup. Personally, I think that one would make sense. One's 9-1, one's 10-1. Do it. We're making matchups here. We're making matchups on the fly here. Other people that didn't even fight this past weekend. That's good stuff, isn't it? Smash a like on the video if you're a fan of that fight. Or even if you're a fan of Amanda Ribas or Tracy Cortez. Breezy clear up the last one. Okay, so that's the Dolidze Allen one. Ooh, okay. Perhaps. So yeah, that's kind of all my take on the Casey for Casey O'Neill. I think it's the best step back. I think there's a lot of more improvements to her game to see, really. And I felt that doing tape on her prior to the weekend. You know, I see a clear path to victory for Jennifer Maia, and it really paid off. Didn't risk it on the Fight Picks app, of course, or the Fanatics app, because I didn't want to get a ice bucket challenge on my head. So I played it safe, but yeah, that's all I got on the women's flyweight division here. Taking us back then to the third fight of the night, which of course was the return of Gunnar Nelson after a 1-year layoff, defeating Bryan Barberena. Now, this was probably my most confident pick of the night, and you're probably saying, but JK, what about your boy Muhammad Mokaev? Well, to be honest, coming into that fight, yes, he was against a guy who was making his UFC debut, and I should have some confidence there in Mokaev for sure. But, you know, looking at the last performances, he was in a lot of trouble against Malcolm Gordon, and I can only really judge people based on their last performance. Gunnar Nelson was a pure domination against Takashi Sato a year ago, and yes, he didn't get the finish, but was dominating of all 3 rounds, and I felt that Gunnar's abilities, his style, was just a dreadful matchup for Bryan Barberena. But do stay tuned, because I've got a fantastic fight for Bryan Barberena coming up next. Probably the most exciting out of the list that I've got. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But I've got a good one for Gunnar Nelson, of course. But yeah, Gunnar really impressed me at the weekend. He shows that his grappling is probably one of the best in the division, really. Very old school. AJ Journo says, oh, wow, I just realised I forgot to add this fight to the matchmaking article on Sunday. To be honest, mate, I didn't check out your article because I didn't want to cheat in preparation for this video. So I'm going to check it out after this and then compare picks. Not gonna lie, I thought it had ended after the second round. Felt slow. I think he was on about the last... Maia versus Casey O'Neill. Okay. Ash saying same most confident pick, and yeah, because Ash went sub on that one as well. If there was one fight that went exactly how I thought it was, this one 1,000,000,000%, whatever that is, yeah, for sure. Ditto. Yeah, I think it was just a dreadful matchup for Bryan Barberena. Props for him for taking it as well. In Europe, I hope he had a good few days in London, enjoyed himself, of course, but Gunnar Nelson's just too strong, man, too strong on the ground once he gets you there. Perfect level entries as well, all the timing on his takedowns, and yeah, that was all she wrote. But hopefully we get to see Gunnar Nelson again later this year. There's some whispers going around. I mean, wait, I say whispers. We're kind of like started it. That the UFC probably will return in London in July. So fingers crossed we can get Gunnar Nelson on that card, because we didn't last July for some reason. I don't know why. So fingers crossed we get to see him again this later on this year. All right, JK says Wales to New Jersey. Yes, Wales to New Jersey. Pop that like on the video, my man. Yes, you're just joining in. We've got some excellent future matchups to make right here, right now. And we're also going to be talking about Colby Covington disrespecting John Anik. And we're going to be talking about why Edwards versus Covington makes no sense. The UFC's returning in July, says Agent Jono. Mate, don't, come on. Let's be real. Let's be real. Glad we saw our boy Frankie for the watch along. Don't change the subject, Ash. Come on, we know you've got a rock solid hard on still. Hopefully it goes down soon, my friend. Wilson Josie says, yes, sir. Great watch along on Saturday, lads. Good. So, we really enjoyed it. You know, we had Angus, of course, making his live in the house debut. We had an excellent laugh, man. It was definitely one of the best. And when the UFC's at these decent times for us, that's when we're able to put on a show. Who knows what the next one will be? It's going to be even bigger and better that time around. You know, maybe we have a few people in the house. Who knows? Yet to figure it out. Breezy says, how was the watch along? I tried to pop in a few times. Mate, Breezy, you are the absolute best, my friend, because and I know Angus has done it before. To tune into the watch along whilst you're in the O2, watching it live is still amazing. Like, I've got to put my hat off to you, my man, because I wouldn't normally be able to do that because my signal's terrible when I go to the O2 and things like that. But look, yeah, if he says what he's gonna watch it when they release the full card on Fight Pass, mate, that is definitely a decent thing to do one evening, isn't it? Yeah, sync it up. That's gonna be a good laugh. I hope you enjoy it. Do it for sure. Maybe Frankie can join us on the sofa, says Ash. Mate, that's the thing. We were hoping that Frankie was going to make a trip down to London because it was a pay-per-view, but you know, the UFC didn't bring that many stars down, so you know, fingers crossed they do like a proper fan expo one day where they bring several fighters down, but I don't know if they'll do it. Fingers crossed. We can only hope, hey. Yeah, so my fight for Gunnar Nelson, back onto Gunnar Nelson, would be Muslim Salikov, which kind of makes sense because he's 19-3. He's coming off of a TKO win against Andre Fiallo. However, that fight was back in November. So maybe perhaps Muslim Salikov is due another fight. Did he just, or is due a fight soon? Did he just fall out of the rankings? He did, yes. So, you know, that's where Gunnar is at the moment. He's in that kind of just outside, probably between 15 and 20. Did I just hear a loud buzzing noise? That was really weird. So, yeah, and Gunnar's one of those people that's in there. So, yeah, I think Salikov makes a lot of sense. Grappling-wise, is going to be very intriguing. Salikov's Russian, so... maybe, I mean, we don't see a lot of his grappling, to be honest. He's normally a stand-up striker, but, you know, he's going to be forced to grapple against someone like Gunnar Nelson. On the feet, I think it's very touch and go, of course, because Gunnar's got that wide stance, karate style. He's going to be catching you on counters. Muslim Salikov, a lot more tighter, probably susceptible to rushing in and maybe getting caught. So I think it's my pick with that one would actually be Gunnar Nelson on that, and he could very well TKO him if... You know, he could. I think Gunnar Nelson might even decide to stand up and strike on that one because the last two fights he's took it to the ground and kind of dominated in the grappling department. So yeah, that's kind of my pick for Gunnar Nelson. I've only got one at the moment. I know there's so many other matchups that kind of make sense, but that's kind of one that's really stood out for me and that what I wouldn't mind watching. Breezy said, sign JK trying to stop Ash from fondling the man. You see, he has been watching it. See, yeah. Turns up for watch along, gets Ash and the casting couch. Yes, Breezy. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I think Ash and Frankie would have to have their own couch. We'd have to definitely build a tier. Might need 3 tiers, to be honest. We would put Ash and Frankie right at the top tier and out of the camera way, and then we'll be all right. Yes, James MMA, good to see you in the chats again, my man. How have you been? I don't think we were able to catch up this past weekend. What did you make of the fights? Do you think Gunnar Nelson versus Muslim Salikov is the right move to make next? Smash a like on the video, my man. Good to see you as always. But then we're going to kind of move on to Bryan Barberena. I should probably move on to the rankings, actually, as we're talking about the future fights. I've forgotten to do that on here. So if I just press Bosch, I've done it wrong again. There we go. Number 3. Welterweight division. Yes, of course, no real movements. But the matchup that I've got for Bryan Barberena, and I think you guys might get a bit of a hard on before it, okay? So this is kind of a bit of a mic drop moment, okay? Are you ready? Bosch. Actually, no, the other way around, I should read that. Tim Means, Bosch. Tim Means versus Bryan Barberena should be the next match to make. Now, Tim Means is coming off of back-to-back losses against Max Griffin and Kevin Holland, but the reason why I've got this fight in there, even though both guys will be coming off of losses, is because Bryan Barberena thrives in fights against brawlers. Tim Means is a brawler himself, but he's quite good on the ground, actually. He's kind of a bit underrated. That's the perfect matchup to make. That's a fun-filled fight for any fan. I think even if you've not going to put together the most exciting pay-per-view card, I think that's a good fight to have headline the prelims. Because you know both guys are going to throw down. And it's going to make people buy the pay-per-view afterwards. So look, if you're listening to UFC, you're welcome. Dana White, your boy JK's got your back. Because that's the fight to make next. I saw Ash get ice bucketed, said James. Nice one. Yeah, it was a good moment, to be honest. We thought Ash was going to escape the ice bucket. But so far, now with these long 7-hour full card watch-alongs that we've done, where we've done the spinning wheel, both Sai and Ash have got ice buckets. So who knows who it could be next? Hopefully it's not your boy, because your boy is very good with his picks. Yes, James says, yes, it guys. Give James a lot of love in the chats there. Great matchups, JK says James. Thank you, sir. A says Ash. And Sai also saying, yes, that was a great. And he's referring to Thingy there. Ash getting bucketed. Breezy said, just a moment. Welterweight. Kamaru Usman, champion. Picture of Usman's arm and Leon's body. I know. It's kind of like the main topic lately, isn't it? It's always the case. I'm quite tempted to get some edits lined up of that. I think it's time that we each one of the ATF members gets their own Usman arm with the belt. I think we're going to make that happen. Maybe we'll get some time to do that on the week off. AJ Jonas said, I'll never get ice bucketed. To be honest, mate, we had near enough the same picks at the weekend, Angus. And hopefully, maybe next time around, it's going to come down to me and you. Who knows? Maybe we're just going to have a separate one because we're the most elite pickers in the house. Yeah, maybe we just need a JK versus Angus one-on-one, you see. I don't know. Ash says, you can't even reach your head, Angus. I think he probably could, but all right then, nice one. So yeah, that's the only real option that I've got for Bryan Barberena. I mean, there's a fair few fights I think that would be good. Andre Fiallo would be a barn burner, but I think the UFC just need to give him these matchups against, brawlers. The reason why I put Team Means is because I guess I'm doing Bryan Barberena solid in a lot of ways, because the guys that he's beaten recently have been veterans of the game. Okay, he did lose to Rafael dos Anjos. All right, there's no denying that. Okay, but then before that, you had Robbie Lawler, you had Matt Brown, and you had Darren Weeks. So, I think if you give him someone like a Tim Means, a Dirty Bird, I think it's a decent fight to make and makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. But we should probably swiftly move on. We've got a few topical current events coming up as well later on in the show. We're going to be talking about whether or not the Edwards versus Covington fight makes sense. We're going to be talking about why Gaethje versus Poirier makes sense to get paired up next at lightweight. We're going to be talking about Colby Covington, of course, being very disrespectful to John Anik in an interview. So we get some thoughts and opinions on that as well. And there's some other bits in there, of course, as well. AJ Jono said, we had the same picks because you copied me. Mate, don't even get me started on that. How can I can't even copy picks. We can't copy picks. On the last app that we did, you could copy picks. But in this one, you can't because it's all locked off and you can't really see who's going for who. So, I don't know. I think you probably copied me, my man. I don't know. I mean, your graphics is breezy. Oh, I see. Yeah, no, that's the UFC's graphic though, right there. Yeah, we know our own ones of each of us. But all right. So that's basically all we're wrapping up on the Nelson versus Barberena fight. Those two options make the most sense. Moving on then to the co-main event, of course, which was Justin Gaethje picking up the decision win against Rafael Fiziev. A little bit disappointed because I was team Fiziev the whole weekend. Got a picture of him as well, which was really good. One of the few pictures that we got with fighters. But it was a majority decision going Justin Gaethje's way. One judge scored it 28-28, which is very confusing. I don't know why you would score that draw, to be honest. I scored it for Fiziev winning the first round, and then Gaethje is almost a similar outcome to the Chandler fight, apart from the fight wasn't as wild, really. I mean, it was a wild fight, but there was some knockdowns in the Chandler versus Gaethje fight. But it went a similar way, really. Fiziev won the first round for me, and then Gaethje found his timing, found his rhythm a bit better, and won rounds 2 and 3. Can't complain there about the decision at all. Fight of the night, man, says Ash. This was another. I was confident on how Justin was underdog. Yeah, I get it. I think, listening to podcasts and stuff this week or what's come out after the event, a lot of people are praising Gaethje's boxing and people feel that he's really improved on his striking, and I don't know. I think Gaethje's been Gaethje, to be honest. He's been in a lot of wars. I mean, we're going to get into that a little bit later on, of course. But the guy just doesn't slow down. It's insane. Don't think he hasn't been knocked out for a long time. He obviously got submitted by Oliveira, but before that, it was Poirier back in 2018. That was the last guy to properly TKO him. And then before that, it was Eddie Alvarez. Wow. But look at that. Oh, we'll get into that a little bit later. I'm getting too excited. But yeah, what's next for Justin Gaethje, of course? I think it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. I don't know about you guys, but it's got to be Dustin Poirier. It really has. Breezy says, I think there's a thing about big step-ups we miss. You're referring to Fiziev getting that step against Gaethje? Yeah, I guess so. But then, if on the other hand, if you're Justin Gaethje and you've recently fought for the belt not too long ago, then you got no choice. I mean, I guess before that he did beat Chandler, but then Chandler, he defended his ranking against Chandler after the Oliveira fight. So then he into himself deserved to fight up. So that's why I was a little bit confused, really, because... Oh, no, sorry, I'm getting it all wrong. No, it was Oliveira, wasn't it? After Chandler. I'm getting these mixed up. Yeah, I guess when you lose the title fight, you got to fight the next man, I guess. Keep chipping away at up-and-coming guys if you want to get the another title fight, and you got to be impressive in whilst doing it. Fiziev reflecting on it, hadn't fought anyone really as good as Justin. No, for sure. It was definitely a wake-up call. And of course, I felt that he was ready for that next step, especially when he took out someone like RDA and he looked very impressive in doing it. Yes, it's not the best RDA. It's not RDA in his prime. It's a slightly older RDA. But let's not forget that RDA is actually one of the most well-rounded fighters in in the lightweight division, period. You know, he's got phenomenal Muay Thai. His kicking game is excellent. He's got great wrestling to go with his phenomenal jiu-jitsu skills as well. You know, that's what's great about RDA, is his wrestling, is be able to chain things together. So a win against him, for me, I felt Gaethje was the next move to make. And look, Fiziev goes down a peg now, and it's going to be intriguing to see who the UFC pair him up with next. But what the Poirier fight for me, I think it makes the most sense. And I've said this at the weekend during the watch long. Poirier's got nowhere to go. You know, he kind of wants exciting fights. He wants kind of money fights, fight for the belt potentially. He's trying to put his name in the hat, similar to what Colby Covington's doing at the moment, because Islam Makhachev's the champion. But he's just coming off a win against Chandler. Yes, Chandler's a former title contender, but Chandler's record in the UFC is not exactly the best. He's exciting to watch. We want to see him against these big names, of course. He is a big name himself, as Chandler. But for Poirier, you got to. I mean, he doesn't seem he didn't seem phased about a fight against Beneil Dariush. So, you know, what is your next move? I don't think he's going to get the Islam fight. I really don't. I could be wrong. It could be wrong. The UFC might be looking to tie that up for Abu Dhabi. Maybe. Okay. Is it going to sell? I guess it might do. I think Islam's quite a popular name, I think more so than people think. Especially with Russians and the Muslim community and things like that. Yeah, Ash is all for Dustin again. Book it. And yeah, look, you know, they last fought in 2018, as I mentioned a second ago. Poirier got the 4th round knockout. And it was Gaethje's second fight in the UFC. Let's not forget that, you know. He did get TKO'd before that against Eddie Alvarez. But look, since the Poirier knockout, he was on a bit of a run. He's a bit of a tear. So, and he's much better fighter than he was back then. And I guess I should probably ask you guys who remember, who do you think has improved the most since that time? Is it Justin Gaethje or is it Dustin Poirier? I kind of want to say it's Justin Gaethje. I really do. So that fight for me is quite intriguing, and we know it's going to bang. So for me, it's got to be on perhaps a pay-per-view headliner. You know, if the UFC is struggling to put title fights together, why not make that? I mean, we saw Masvidal versus Covington, didn't we? As a pay-per-view headliner. Poirier versus Gaethje makes a lot of sense. Ash saying Fiziev versus Gamrot, book it all day. Yeah, I'm going to get into that in a sec because that's my thought. Breezy says, I'd like to see Fiziev versus Chandler. Yeah, me too, actually. I think that would be a chaotic war as well. I would have put that on there if Chandler wasn't fighting Conor, or going to be fighting Conor. We still don't really know when that's going to be, whether it's going to be September or whatever. So Chandler's going to be sidelined for quite some time. Maybe perhaps we'll get to see Fiziev again in the summer. Gamrot is my pick. It is for Fiziev. I think that makes a lot of sense. That's a fiery fight. And I've kind of said this before. I think I said it in the last Aftermath show, that I felt that Fiziev would have the upper hand against Gamrot. I said the physicality battle would favour Fiziev. Gamrot deserves to fight up since he just defended his ranking on short notice against Jalen Turner. So it makes sense. And I think, and we like we said in the last Aftermath show, I felt that Fiziev would beat Gamrot and it would give Gamrot a reason to move down to featherweight. Because he's fought a featherweight before at KSW, and I think he'd be a problem at that weight class. And I think that weight class kind of needs some more intriguing needle movers, really, in a way. Breezy says, I know with Tough, we have a while. Yeah. Jaws, welcome in, brother. Welcome in, Jaws. Smash a like on the video. Smash that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Good to see you. He says, do you think Makhachev has ended his career? No, I don't think so. I mean, he's like 22 years old. I think he'll heal up again, like I said earlier, I'm very intrigued to see the extent of his injury and how long he's going to be out for, because he wanted to be champion by March 2024. And by not tapping and putting your leg through that pain, if he's done some serious damage, he's going to be out for a long, long time. So fingers crossed. It's not that bad. I want to say fingers crossed it's not that bad. If it's not that bad, then he's basically Stretch Armstrong. Do you remember Stretch Armstrong, who had one of them when he was a kid? Like, he was basically that guy, because that was disgusting. That knee, man, he bent all the way back. The angle that, don't. Hell, be back. He's young, and that's for him. Usually he'll better. And yeah, Breezy's kind of got me in there. And yeah, great question, Jaws, as well. Let's give some Jaws a lot of love. Keep them coming, though. Keep the questions coming. But yeah, that's what I think. Gamrot versus Fiziev makes a lot of sense. I favour Fiziev in that fight. I think he's able to stuff the takedowns. Gamrot is a little bit of a firecracker. He's a bit wild in there. He loves changing his wrestling in with his takedowns, and he's so good at doing it. And it's not always the same entry every single time. But for me, Fiziev's just that little bit difficult. He's going to be landing the heavier shots, I think, out of the two, and may just edge a decision. You know, I that's what I feel. I don't think Gamrot's going to be able to crack Fiziev the same similar way that Gaethje was able to crack him. I really don't. But yeah, you know, props to Gaethje's performance, man. You know, he's still one of the best in the lightweight division, and I can't wait to see him again, of course. I think he could be out for like a couple of months, but we will find out soon, since Ashley's referring to Makaya's injury. Top stuff. All right, so let's get into then the main event. Let's recap that then, shall we? Of course, still the champ. I've got some really good questions to ask you guys, and I think this is going to be really good. I can't wait to hear your opinions on it. So do listen carefully. But that's going to be when we're talking about Kamaru Usman, what's next for him. As for Leon Edwards, of course, he's now 21-3 with one no contest. He's still third now, I think, in pound for pound. Or was it fourth in the pound for pound rankings now? So that's kind of changed. Look, excellent display from him. I think he did what he needed to do. We could tell that the cardio was a big factor in the previous fight. He was able to stuff Kamaru's takedown attempts really well, peel out and maintain center of the octagon again, and really kind of picked Kamaru apart. I was a little bit nervous when the decision was coming in because of that point deduction, but I did felt that Leon had done enough to win majority of the rounds. You know, he did buckle Usman a few times. And the kicks were just which did the damage. You know, you could tell he was really trying to set up that high kick by constantly going low to the legs, to the body, to try and get Usman to really drop his guard so that he can time that head kick. And I think he only attempted it once, but he was able to kind of get Usman freezing up a little bit. You know, Usman was pressing the action really well, but you could tell that Usman was being very cautious of the high kick the whole time, and that kind of, you know, prevented him from putting as much damage on Leon as he perhaps wanted to. So yeah, I think it was a great game plan for Leon Edwards. Leon came out and said that his preferred option would be Jorge Masvidal next, because there's a bit of a story there, and yeah, I can kind of get it. We kind of wanted that fight to maybe happen in a stadium in the UK. It could very well happen if Masvidal gets past Gilbert Burns. But that's the big if. And I can't really see it. I think a lot of you guys would probably agree with me on that. Gilbert Burns is an absolute animal in this welterweight division. And look, I think he would give Leon problems, because Gilbert is very smart. He found a way of getting Wonderboy down to the ground. He found that blueprint out, and people like Bilal copied that. So I think he would give Leon a really tough test. Whether or not Leon would take that fight, I don't really know. You know, because when you look at Gilbert Burns in there at number 5, you've got Bilal Muhammad above him, who's on a better win streak, of course. But then he's got to fight another fight in order to, you know, even get a look in. Yeah, I mean, the Colby fight we're going to get into in a bit more in a second. Actually, I'll get into it now, to be honest, because it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And I know what the UFC are doing here. It's clear as day. It's obvious. And a few people have spoken about it. And let me know if you even agree. Is it not a bit funny that the whole fiasco between Covington and Masvidal, that whole pressing charges thing, has just literally no longer been talked about? And that both guys are getting a little bit more attention now in the MMA media. Masvidal's now fighting Burns. Covington came out of nowhere as a backup this past weekend. So you got to think, did the UFC speak to Covington, get him to drop the charges on Masvidal in order to, get a title fight? Did they say to him, we'll give you a title fight next time out if you drop the charges on Masvidal? Because if you drop the charges on Masvidal, one, a title fight is better for you money-wise than whatever you're going to get out of the Masvidal case. And that way the UFC can move on and book fights. So, I'm a little bit skeptical. I really am. I think that's what they've done. I think that's what they've done here. Because, it would have been interesting if Usman had picked up the win at the weekend. Would the UFC still do that? Just brought Colby in as a backup. Usman wins. Are you going to do that fight again for a third time? I guess it would make sense in a way because you brought Covington in as a backup. I don't know, man. Don't know. Fishy stuff. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what you guys think. Let's get your thoughts on this. Breezy said the body shot and knee were nasty shots. Love this fight. I said, hate to say it, Colby is the worst matchup for Leon. I don't know, but then is it not rinse and repeat in terms of game plan for Leon? It is, isn't it? Because Colby's going to be marching forward. He's going to be coming forward. Yes, Colby's probably going to have the gas tank. That's going to be the caveat in that fight. Is Colby's gas tank. Is Colby's gas tank better than Usman's? Even though Usman beat Colby. Colby's going to come forward just like Usman did. He'll be looking for the takedown just like Usman did. And is Leon going to be do his best to defend that takedown as Usman did? I don't know. It all depends if Muhammad does fight Rakhmonov. If not, Muhammad versus Usman. We're going to get into that in a sec, Ash, because, I've got some good ones for that. George says Leon doesn't have a say on who he's going to fight. I know some people have been saying that. I've been hearing that. You have more of a say in turning down fights as a ranked fighter than champion. Good point there from Jaws. Absolutely. So I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC forced his hand to take that Colby fight. I really do. But I'll be intrigued to see what it would take for Leon to accept that fight. Is he due a new contract? He's a champ now. Beat the pound for pound, who was potentially pound for pound number one twice. Can make a case. All to be decided. Taylor Young says, personally, yes, Taylor Young, good to see you back, my man, as always. Thanks for tuning in at the weekend of the watch long. He says, personally, aside from pace, I don't see what Colby brings that Usman didn't. And absolutely, he's siding with me as well. It's true. I think the game plan is rinse and repeat for Leon. And that's why, in a way, I don't really think that fight makes sense. It doesn't excite me for that reason. But it doesn't make sense because Colby is coming off of the loss, the win against Masvidal, who, before that, Masvidal was coming off a loss against the champ, Usman. So, and has been out for a while. So I get Leon's points that he's making, and he has some legitimacy to those points. But it's the UFC, man. I don't know. There's definitely some politics behind it for sure. George says, I think it might be because he's Donald Trump's favourite fighter. Oh, don't. But then also, Dana White's got buddy with Trump as well. But again, let's not get into politics too much here. Taylor Young says, Colby is a better striker than Usman, but he lacks power to make Leon worry. Leon has a bit of a trouble, but picks him apart, in my opinion. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, fair. I can very much see that as well, especially after that performance that Leon put on against Usman. I can really see that. Because before that fight, you know, before the second Usman fight, even after it, you would probably say, oh, I think Colby would give him some problems. But, you know, he fought the perfect game plan against Usman this past weekend. It's probably, you know, better than getting another finish in a lot of way. I don't know. Obviously, bigger impact if you finish Usman again. But the fact he went 5 rounds, full 5 rounds, and was able to win rounds, I think was pretty impressive. Colby doesn't get tired, says Ash, and he says Colby cardio king, baby. Oh dear. Breezy agrees with Taylor as well. There we go. Damo's in the house. Colby is just a fragile version of Usman. And there you go. There's Damo's point in there. After this video, if you want to stick around and watch more content, of course, don't forget to check out our fan cam with Damien. He made his second appearance on the fan cam and has some really good, solid opinions on what he thinks is next. And yeah, maybe we can shine a light some more as well. Breezy says Shemaev versus Covington is the one to make winner fights for the belt. Absolutely, I would have been all for that, man. But the UFC just can't take that gamble again. They really don't want to. If Khamzat had no problems making that weight against Nate Diaz and beat Nate Diaz, then look, Shemaev would be getting booked against Covington. And if not, then it's because Colby's ducking him. And it's clear. It would be clear as day, you know. But yeah, I would have been all for that. But I don't think that's the route they're making, unfortunately. Telly Young says, the Bilal fight doesn't excite me either. Bilal is an uninteresting person, and Leon has already had a boring fight with him. Bilal is the most deserving, though. Yeah, I know. It's difficult, isn't it? But then, you know, on the other hand, with Bilal, do you deserve a title fight if you just beat Sean Brady? I know we have the Makhachev argument here when he fought Charles Oliveira, but at the time, Charles Oliveira had beaten majority of the top 5 or whatever. The suspect point with Makhachev was his rise in the rankings that the UFC did. And, you know, that's not Makhachev's fault. That's the UFC's fault. They put him quite high up. So if you put him high up, he deserves high up fights. And he's on a big win streak. So the title fight made sense at the time. But yeah, for this one, in Bilal's case, a title fight after beating Sean Brady would not exactly be warrant. Damo says Khamzat is void in this division. He's basically a middleweight top 5 at the moment. Yeah, for sure. And like I said earlier, I think Vettori is a good fight for him to make. Or backtrack on that, which I didn't mention, Jared Cannonier I think would be an easier stylistically fight because of the takedown threat there. George says Leon should take it. To be honest, he will get a pay-per-view. He will get pay-per-view points, and if it's on the same card as John Jones, ooh, hello. He can make some nice money. Yeah, potentially. I mean, look, I'd like... That's the thing now with champions. With the UFC, with the way that the MMA is going at the moment and shifting, with the PFL and Bellator trying to do big things in other countries. If you're the UFC... I mean, but in a way, is it protecting champions in a way? If you constantly have them defend their belts in their own country? Because I wouldn't be surprised if they did it more with Volk. You know? Since coming out of COVID, you know, they've really felt the energy and the buzz when bringing the UFC back to all these countries like the UK, like Australia. Mexico is going to be a next one, right? So they'd want to almost bubble wrap their champions and save them for those overseas cards. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do it more often. Could we see another pay-per-view in the UK in July? I think they're going to return to July. My guess would be it would be a fight night. But since Leon won, if Leon wants to fight in the summer, could they be eyeing up a stadium show? I mean, I'm going to throw it out there because I think it is wild. I think the stadium shows in the UK, I think that kind of ship has almost sailed because it didn't happen this March. I think we're more likely to look at a fight night in July. I do, but who knows? Never know. I agree. If anyone deserves it, Bilal does. Teddy Young says Khamzat is a massive risk, though. Even if he makes weight and beat Leon, he couldn't stay in that weight for long. Yeah, for sure. Spot on, Taylor Young there. Bravo. You know, yeah. You'd be looking at winning the belt and then moving up the division straight away. You know? it's his discipline. It's the thing. The UFC. He needs to show the UFC that he can be disciplined to probably make the weight. I just hope no matter what, Leon lasts a while, says Breezy. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be difficult, but then at the same time, it's sort of like, well, I don't know, but then it comes down to MMA and maths. It doesn't make sense, does it? You could easily say that if you can beat Kamaru Usman, then you can beat anyone else in the division, but it's a completely different style, isn't it? You know. Taylor Young said, at the end of the day, Dana is going to do what he wants. If he wants the Colby fight, then the Colby fight. And I mean, that comes into Dana White privilege, really. I think, we're going to touch about that a bit more a little bit later, but I don't know, man. It could be Dana White privilege there. Lil J Fizzle, welcome in, buddy. Thank you for joining. Hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit a like on the video if you're enjoying the chat so far. And he says, I want a Burns or Bilal matchup next for Leon, or Colby fights one fight and wins, he gets the next title shot. And yeah, you very right, he could be one shot away. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. That's the thing with Gilbert Burns. Burns versus Colby should have been made already. If you're going to take Hamza out of the equation. Hamza against Colby should have been made already. But Colby's been ducking. And because of that, Burns has had to fight off his ranking against guys that are way lower, like a Jeff Neal. Not Jeff Neal. Like a Neil Magny. So, and it's all because of him. Yeah, beat a Hamza or a Burns, and you're there. You're the next one in. Damien says Logan Paul will probably get the next title shot, to be honest. Who knows? George says the gate they had for the O2 was ridiculous. Once they've seen those numbers, they are going to continue coming back and increasing prices, seeing how fast it sold out. Yeah, I mean, I do want to see Wembley, man. We've got to see Wembley Stadium over here. We absolutely have to, because surely that's going to be wild, man. The gate on that would be insane with a stadium show. And I think people won't complain about price of tickets too much because I think they'll be evenly balanced. But I don't know. Dana's too scared. Who is the toughest fight for Leon? Good question, Taylor Young. If you take Hamza out of the equation, I actually think it would be Burns over Colby. I really do. Yeah, I favour Burns. But then you could make arguments to that. Gilbert Burns was a former lightweight, but look, he solved the problems of Wonder Boy, who's an excellent striker and kickboxer. He done that. He did knock down Usman. Okay, yes, he didn't put him out like Leon did, but he did score a knockdown in that fight and was quite impressive. Other than that, yes, you've got, I know, beat Woodley, the decisive lead, Tikio, Damian Maia, decision, Gunnar Nelson. So he's beaten grapplers, he's beaten strikers. I'd love to see it. And yeah, Burns and Breezy agrees that the Burns is the toughest option. Yeah, I really would love to see that fight. Ash says Colby though. Burns has power and a massive sub threat, says Taylor. Yeah. Even if he struggles to get Leon down, I think, you know, he's going to be still attacking the submissions, I think. As for Kamaru Usman, then, I've got a few questions for you guys. We'll move on to talk about Kamaru Usman. Question 1. Is the Kamaru Usman era over at welterweight? 2. Was the Jorge Masvidal and Gilbert Burns knockouts the peak of his career? Have we seen peak Kamaru Usman already? And he's on the decline? Or do you think he will make the right adjustments and come back better than ever? I'll leave it with you guys. What do you reckon in the chat? Smash a like on the video if the thought of that gets you excited, because it does for me. I'm intrigued to see what's next for Kamaru Usman. I really am. Because has he got much time left in mixed martial arts? That's the ultimate question now. When a champion who's been champion for so long starts losing, and not only that, back to back against the same guy, you start to question. You do. So what do you reckon, guys? Is the era over? And have we seen peak Kamaru Usman? Here we go. Taylor Young says, I think Hamza is the is the biggest threat, but excluding him because of the weight issue, I'd say Gilbert is toughest for Leon. Usman is 36 and has a broken body. I think he's already peaked. So there you go. Taylor Young agreeing that Usman has already peaked and says that Gilbert Burns is the toughest competitor in division for Leon. And yeah, I got to agree. And yeah, so does Breezy. So top stuff in the chats, guys. George says he should just retire. His body is too damaged and he's 35 years old. Yeah, I guess so. And, you know, we typically see heavyweights go on to their 40s, which is kind of weird, you know, in a division. And that's just comes down to wear and tear. You know, heavyweights, their bodies don't wear and tear. It's more or less the chins, right? If you get knocked out. If you're able to not get knocked out as much at heavyweight, you can go into your 40s. And we've seen that, you know. We've seen that with DC, with, you know, John Jones is not quite there yet, is he? But I think Stipe is now 40 and yet to fight at 40. So, yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, excellent stuff in the chats. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? I personally think that I don't think the era is over. I think he'll continue fighting. He kind of alluded to that in his post-fight interview. But I think we have seen the peak. I really do. If he wins another fight, it would probably be against an upcoming guy. And if he ever was paired up against a Shavkat Rakhmonov, which would be the ultimate leapfrog fight, where if you beat Usman, you're next for the title, right? He's just going to be a gatekeeper for the belt holder. But, you know, even Shavkat versus Usman, I think Usman could very well give Shavkat problems. But, you know, if Shavkat was to lose against Usman, then the argument there was, Shavkat's not ready yet. But even though he's 17 and or whatever. Taylor Young saying Usman is obviously great, but realistically his time is at an end, at least at welterweight. Seen some people talk about him moving up, though. I can't really see him at middleweight. I really can't. I struggle to see it. I really do. I don't think he'll have a lot of luck up there. Lil J Fizzle says, I don't believe Usman had the hunger to go get the belt back. He might be on his ride to retirement after one more run of the belt. Yeah, true. Oh, yeah, I could see him make another run, but even if you lose the next one, surely you got to be looking at your watch and going, it's probably time to jack it in. Breezy said, how have we gone from Usman being the unbeatable figure to should retire in like 6 months? And it's solid. Good spot there, Breezy, absolutely. It's true. And it is because we've been talking about the wear and tear of his body and the losses. And yeah, it's the same for Shevchenko, though. She's getting the same treatment. It was the same from Amanda Nunes when she lost to Juliana Pena. So, yeah, Usman gives everyone in the division problem. Okay, middleweight, interesting. George says fighters fighting for championship belts who are 35 and up have won twice out of 38, out of 28 from flyweight to welterweight. I did see that as well, my man. I did see that stat. That is top stuff, that, and that doesn't give you a lot of confidence really for the future. So yeah, you could say pack it in. Getting KOs seems to be weighing on Usman, says Lil J Fizzle. And yeah, like I said before, he might not even be the same again after that head kick. He really might not be. It's always going to be the back of his mind, stepping in the cage, is whether or not he's going to get knocked out again, like in a similar fashion. But yeah, as for what's next for Usman, I actually wouldn't mind Bilal Muhammad because he's on a 4-fight win streak. He's not ready for a title fight, like I said earlier. Beating Sean Brady because of that. Defeating a former champion would guarantee him a title shot. There's no denying that. And that would be the next step for Bilal Muhammad. However, Dana revealed in the post-fight press conference that he felt that Bilal versus Shavkat is apparently in the works. So, look, I think it's a good fight for both Shavkat and Bilal. Bilal, does it really do much? Are we still going to have the same excuses if Bilal goes out there and completely dominates Shavkat? He defeated a Shavkat that's, you know, he's an up-and-comer. He's not really for the top echelon of the division, blah-de-blah-de-blah. But then the counter-argument for that is he's 17-0 and been finishing guys. So Shavkat's ready for that next step up. He really is. But personally, I think Bilal versus Usman would make more sense. But Bilal, I think, is ready to go. So timing doesn't really make sense. Usman gives everyone problems at welterweight. That's what you meant. Okay. That's the nature of the sport, Breezy. Usman went from unbeatable future GOAT to forgotten. Then everyone was on the Volk bandwagon. You're only as good as your last fight. Absolutely. Fight fans don't have great memories for Taylor Young, and that's a spot-on opinion there. Absolutely love that. So, yeah, other than that, though, for Usman, I think you'd have to wait out. He really would, because he's not going to get Hamzat. Would you do a Gilbert Burns rematch? If he beats Masvidal? Don't know. He's not fought Wonderboy. We always thought that Wonderboy versus Usman would be good. Here, Wonderboy's coming off a win against Kevin Holland, but does Wonderboy deserve a fight against Kamaru Usman? That's the question. Because, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, but I think we've all seen how that fight goes down, surely. And Wonderboy's not getting any younger. He's like 40 now. He's older than Usman. So, you know, and we've seen Burns and Bilal Muhammad set out the blueprint to beat Wonderboy, and I think Usman would probably do the same again. But it would be an ideal fight for Usman to get back on the win column. So maybe the UFC might do that. Because it's not going to be a Jeff Neal, it's not going to be a Sean Brady, and it's not going to be a Vicente Luque. But I think all those guys are going to fight each other anyways, or still. Even though, you know, I think Luque's going to be fighting someone trying to take his spot anyway. Usman versus Wonderboy, says Ash. Look, that's it. We all know how that goes. Absolutely, we do. Yeah, it's not an exciting fight, but other than Bilal Muhammad, and when you remove Hamzat from the equation, that's all you've got for Usman. And Usman said in the post-fight he wants to get back in the gym and start training and get back in there. So I don't think it's a good idea. I think you should take some time out, let the division sort itself out a little bit more, and then come back and maybe fight an up-and-comer. That's my opinion. All right, let's move on to some socials then, because I've been chatting your ears off for quite some time now about the main event. Let's get into some of the socially bits that's been popping up on the social waves there. My first one is a bit of a topical conversation we can get into for quite a bit of time, actually, is whether or not Michael Bisping should be commentating on Leon Edwards' fights. Being a Brit himself, there was a bit of backlash on Michael Bisping for some reason. And look, I get there's some bias there. We've seen it from DC. DC's been getting the fair share of it as well. But this has actually come from, the accusations come from Justin Gaethje. He said, I thought Kamaru Usman won the fight, but I'm probably as biased as the judges. Certainly not as biased as Michael Bisping, who shouldn't have been nowhere near a microphone during that fight. It sucks. I just thought it was very unprofessional. And it's not a bad point from Justin Gaethje. I kind of get it. John Anik kind of jumped in there as well and kind of to Bisping's defense in a way and says, must say in defense of my broadcasting partner Bisping, the man has zero agenda nor any bias when calling fights, might even have closer personal relationship with Kamaru Usman than he does with Leon Edwards, it's possible. He just felt as though Edwards controlled the stand-up, landed more clearly. And look, that was obvious in the fight. He also goes on to say the job of MMA commentator is not as hard as that of the fighter, judge, or referee, but it's hard. We are judged on every utterance of over 8+ hours of, certainly there are things we'd love to take back. Someone is usually upset with something, never had a perfect show, never will. And look, that's true coming from a commentary standpoint. I've got nothing against commentary bias in MMA, in the UFC. And the reason why is because, well, this goes back to football, really, in a way. Because we see Gary Neville, who used to play for Man United, he commentates on Man United games. For Man United fans, I think it's fine. Obviously, we got no issues about it, but I can see that why rival fans would have issues with it. But at the end of the day, it's also quite entertaining, you know, and these people know their stuff. what would you rather have, though, other than former fighters jump in there? You'd obviously would want Joe Rogan, who's very knowledgeable in the sport. But other than that, you'd probably want like an unknown kickboxer, maybe, right? To maybe shed some light, but then he doesn't have the grappling knowledge in there. So what would you? So would you maybe perhaps give it a team of a kickboxer and a grappler that nobody actually knows about? But then surely they're going to have some kind of level of biasing anyway, if they're forced to call a fight that with people that they're trained with. We see it from DC, but I actually don't have the issue about it. I really don't. I don't know. I just try, because we do the watch on, we don't necessarily listen to the commentary. But even though when I do tape, I listen to the commentary, it actually doesn't bother me. Commentary doesn't bother me. I'm here to listen to watch the fight. You know, not necessarily have 100% concentration on the commentary. So, Wonderboy head kick knockout says Taylor Young, mate, I would absolutely cream my pants if that happened. Yeah. Live on air. Breezy says Bisping has been pretty consistent in not making calls pre-fights, to be fair to the guy. Yeah, and he said some solid stuff in the Q&A on Thursday as well. He refuses to make picks, and of course he's not allowed to. In it, so bad, how can you can be up some fighter man joke, says Ash, I don't know what he's on about, but yeah. Nice one. Yeah, but that's my thoughts on that one, to be honest. Swiftly moving on, though. Let's clear that chat from Ash. Bosch. Is the amount of money that Justin Gaethje has accumulated from bonuses. Wow. 550k on bonuses is insane. And that's the amount of money that he's got in bonus-wise. I'm intrigued. How many bonuses has he got in total? I think I may have seen it, but I've forgotten what the number was. So he's probably got a total of 7 Fight of the Nights, 4 Performance of the Nights, 4 Fight of the Year as well. Right, that's pretty insane. You know, and you think those Fight of the Nights that he's had: Michael Johnson, Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier, Edson Barbosa, Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, Rafael Fiziev, all absolute killers, you know? So, of course, you know, when you paid up against those guys, you're going to get a fight of the night without a doubt, and it's pretty easy. Performance of the night against Michael Johnson, James Vick, Donald Cerrone, and Tony Ferguson. So, look, man, insane if you're Justin Gaethje. He's pretty a mad stat there. Thanks for Ash for pulling that one out. Was that? Oh, I actually skipped one. My bad. We'll go on to this one now, which is Edwards says there's no clear contender if Masvidal loses to Burns, and yeah, I got to disagree with that. I honestly do. I don't know what he's barking on there. It's not a good statement for him to make, because it just kind of makes him look like he just doesn't want to defend his belt. He says there's no clear contenders. The only reason why Jorge Masvidal will have a chance is because of our history and what's behind it. The fact that I don't like him, if he does lose, there's no clear contender. But we've already gone through it in the show. There's contenders there for you, Leon. They just need to come out of the woods a little bit more, I think. He's going to be forced to make that choice. Teddy Young said, it doesn't tend to bother me, although every now and then DC will irritate me with Islam. Okay, fair. 11, thanks guys. Yes, that's the number of bonuses that he's got. Don't mention the Tony one. It still hurts as Taylor Young. I know. Yeah, that was arguably put Tony into a downward spiral. Tony done 2 weight cuts. Oof, yeah. Oh yeah, true. Mate, I don't know what Ash. I don't know what you're on about. What image you're on about? I think there was only one on that, so I put them all together. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, there was 11. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's there. All right, but I don't know what Dion's talking about there. But another good stat, of course, is there, as you can see in the picture, is the record of UFC champions when defending their belts in England is currently 5-0. So Oh, look, bring those title fights back to the UK, baby. Let's keep that going. Let's make that 6-0. But yeah, I think there's definitely some contenders to rise through for Leon Edwards. I don't know what he's talking about there. But yeah, anyhow, moving swiftly on then to the final point of the night, which we're going to talk about, which has come up today, which was Colby being Colby in a way. I'm not surprised by this at all. The headline is, Colby Covington sends threatening messages to John Anik for his support of Belal Muhammad. I don't want your kids to grow up without dad. See, look, there's a line, Colby. There's a line. There's a heck of a line. And it's all because of John Anik said this. Understand accurately why Colby Covington was the backup, but hard not to feel for Belal Muhammad. 9-fight unbeaten streak, hasn't lost in 4+ years. Just KO'd a previously undefeated fighter. Okay, fair point. The man deserves his respect. And I don't say that because he hosts a podcast with my twin brother. Look, it's a fair shout. Because you can make the argument, of course, because of the treatment that Usman Makhachev was able to have, right? So I get that. There may be some level of bias in that, even though he's denied it. But Colby's reaction to it, I think, is a bit over the top. But it's Colby being Colby. You know, he's trying to get a reaction from you guys. If he says something about something threatening, it's going to get people talking about him. That's what he wants. And with Colby, you guys you shouldn't bite on it. Really. You shouldn't believe it. It's all an act that he's doing. He's bringing this WWE persona in. And I'm sure Anik's probably not even bothered about it. He's probably aware of it. From what I've heard from a lot of former fighters who have met Colby behind the scenes have said how much of a nice guy he is, apparently. It is all an act. So you guys got to kind of, you know, try not to bite too much on it, honestly. It doesn't really faze me at all. I mean, there is a line that you shouldn't draw, though, however. And I think he did take it over the top a little bit. But because people are going to believe what you're saying. But, you know, I think the gimmick has kind of been watered down a little bit in the recent year or so for Colby, because it's been coming out more and more so of people's interactions with him. People have said it. I think, who was it who said who bumped into him in a casino? And I think it was Gilbert Burns who said this. And he thought they were going to throw down there and then, but Colby was sort of like, said to him, oh no, I'm doing this whole act, this, that and the other, I want to get you money. And you know, he even said it to Usman, didn't he? You know, after their fight, he even said it to him, and you could hear it on the camera. He said, you know, I'm just trying to hype this fight, I'm just trying to get us the most amount of money. So it's all part of the act. Don't buy into it. Taylor Young says Islam doesn't deserve a shot at champ status. He's done nothing at lightweight, never mind another way. I know that image was in there as well. I did forget about to mention that one. Yeah, I think it's just Islam shooting his shot, really. I don't think he warrants it either. That's my opinion on it, and that's the reason why I'm kind of moving on. He says, I think Colby has lost himself in the character. I think it was originally an act bit. But he's starting to think he's some bad man. Yeah, I mean, look, he's only shooting himself in the foot there, because how can you threaten John Anik, right, that you're going to basically kill him, and then press charges on Masvidal where Masvidal attacks you in public? Like, it's a bit of a joke, right? But that's the actual Colby that's pressed charges. You know, he picked on the wrong person with Masvidal. He really did, because Masvidal doesn't care if you're playing an act or not. If you say something bad about him, he's generally going to put some hurt on you in public. You know, and even Bilal's come to his aid as well, in Anik's aid, and said, "Look, I'm going to be in the area as well. Come at me," you know, sort of thing. So. Look, all it is to spark interest. It's to get people talking about him. And look, it's worked because we're doing it now. Ash says, I love Colby. I don't really get it. Taylor Young says John Jones said Colby was a bad guy. well then, there you go. If John Jones is telling you that Colby is a bad guy, he's a bad guy. But I don't know, John Jones. I don't know. There's some good in John Jones, and I can see it. He's not the the best of angels. So I saying lol is Hugh planning to fight John Anik then? I mean, maybe he might have to fight John Anik and Bilal Muhammad, though, in the process. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it, though, guys. I'd say just let it go over your heads. I'm not bothered. All right, I'm going to take us back. Taking us back now. All right, lovely stuff, guys. Amazing chats, as always, for the Aftermath show. This is one of my favourite shows to do, of course. I love talking about the future matchups and some of the gossip that comes out of the pay-per-view events. And it's always good, as always, to hear your opinions. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you've smashed a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, because this is the place to be if you're obsessed and passionate about the UFC. And it's the place to be if you want to express your opinions on all things mixed martial arts. That's the reason why we do this. We love to especially if you haven't got any friends who are also interested in the sport, this is the place to come. This is the place to go. And we're building a community here. We've had some amazing things happen this past weekend. We've really been able to bring people together and meet for the first time and really talk about our passion and love for the sport, and who we think is going to win and why and all that. That's what we love to do. And look, there's been great things about it so far. So if you want to be a part of the community, then hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to see the Discord link in the description as well. Join us this weekend, of course. We've got a fight night happening. It's going to be the barn burner of a fight night, to be honest. We've got Marlon Vera taking on Corey Sandhagen in the bantamweight division, so that's going to be a very intriguing matchup. There's going to be 6 fights on the main card, so do stay tuned for our watch along. So the details are going to come tomorrow. Hit the notifications bell on our channel so then you can stay up to date of when we're going to be live. I believe it's going to be 11 p.m. GMT time this Saturday, so do stay tuned, of course. And as always, what else have I forgotten? I think that's pretty much the wrapping up the notes. We've got Little Brenny saying Gaethje versus Poirier 2 is my most anticipated fight in all of MMA now. Yeah, man, absolutely. It's fingers crossed that we can get that this year. I'm gonna bring the belt back to the White House. Donald Trump's favorite fighter, says Ash. Okay, all right, very well. Okay, top comments as always, guys. Love to see you in the chats as always, and we'll see you this weekend. Ciao for now.